Hi, today we'll talk about the following topics: how images construct culture, the role of visual media in shaping cultural identity in a globalized world. So, with the advancement of the globalization process, culture as a symbol of human social development and production is in a process of continuous development, exchange, and reconstruction. So, in this process, as one of the most influential cultural communication media in the 21st century, images are no longer just a tool for reproducing reality, but now reflect human subjective creation and become the great express method. This presentation will explore a central question: how do images as a form of expression in visual culture construct, challenge, and reshape cultural identity in the context of the globalization? So we don't want to provide a single answer, but we hope to demonstrate through a combination of the theory and the case studies.
In the following case study, we explore how visual images contribute to the construction of cultural identity, examine the distinct roles that fictional and documentary images play in representing identity. We also consider how those images document and influence the dynamics of cultural conflict and integration, and how they navigate the tension between authenticity and artistic expression in convincing cultural meaning.
The film Black Panther provides a typical example of how images construct cultural identity. So it is not just a fictional superhero movie, but also a film that represents African culture. The film uses a futuristic artist expression style that combines tradition and technology. So we can see the influence of various African tribal cultures in the film. By creating the fictional country of Wakanda, Black Panther constructs a cultural landscape that combines tradition and technology, the history, and the future. The construction of the Black Panther's African tribal culture doesn't simply restore the culture of a particular African ethnic group. The Black Panther completes an idealized collection of African cultural symbols by integrating cultural symbols such as clothes, languages, rituals, and spiritual customs. For example, the prototype of the Women's Royal Guard in the play is a women's regiment of the Republic of Benin. And this play also features a large number of traditional African clothes that have been modernized by incorporating technological elements while retaining traditional cultural symbols. As Hall points out, cultural identity is a process of continuous representation and construction through a symbolic system. The Wakanda represented in Black Panther is a product of this cultural identity. It is no longer dependent on the Western narrative of Africa as a other that has long been in existence. Although it is a work of fiction, Black Panther displays a high degree of cultural research. The film references a large number of specific African cultural practices in terms of languages, clothing, and architecture. And then through visualization, modernization, and technological transformation, it achieves an organic combination of authenticity and arts. Black Panther uses African culture as the main perspective. First, showing African clothing and the racial culture through the most direct visual symbols. Then, as the story progresses, the conflict between two main characters essentially represents the difference between local culture and the diaspora culture, showing African social symbols. And at the same time, it also shows the characteristics of the African kingdom system, as well as various traditional African rituals in the film. Black Panther is not only a revolution in visual storytelling, but also as a visual construction of cultural identity. So this movie leads us from the image of reproducing Africa to the cultural reconstruction of imagining Africa. The symbols, myths, and composition used in the film are not copying cultural reality, but rather allowing the audience to construct a sense of belonging and identity. So in this fictional world, we see not only the story of a superhero saving the world, but also the threat of the African ethnic identity, conflicts, and cultural self-narrative. I believe that images are not a mirror of culture, but it's more like a stage where the meaning is designed and the identity is negotiated. They are constructing. They are constructing identity, not reflecting the reality. So as we emphasized, the power of images lies not only in their visibility, but also in the creator's reflection on cultural awareness behind the creation of images.
So the second example is America Factory, a documentary that vividly showed the obvious differences in work concepts and cultural values between Chinese and American workers. In this play, Chinese managers promote efficient work methods and collectivism, while American workers adhere to the concept of individual freedom and awareness of rights. This film not only records the cultural conflicts through images, but also shows its images and narrative, the cultural collision and adaptation of different cultures in the workplace. American Factory reveals the cultural clash between Chinese efficiency management and American workers' emphasis on rights and safety, reflecting a deeper collision of value system under globalization. The film captures moments of cultural adaptation, such as a humor bridge relationships, showing not simple integration but a process of negotiation. As a mediascape, it visualized how global capture reshaped local practice and identities. And identities is shaped through constant positioning in shifting cultural structures.
Okay, so in the context of the globalization, images are not only a reflection of cultural identity, but also an active force in its construction. First, images, as the constructor of cultural identity, shape the meaning of cultural identity through symbolic system, narrative methods, and visual expression. Black Panther presents an idealized Africa through the fictional Wakanda, challenging the stereotypes of Africa portrayed in traditional Western media. The narrative and visual symbols of the film not only reproduce African culture, but also create a new type of cultural identity through visual construction in the context of the globalization. So this process is in line with Hall's story. Identity is not inherent. It is constantly constructed and reshaped through representation.
Images play a dual role in the process of globalization, the issue between cultural conflict and cultural integration. In American Factory, images recall the cultural conflict between China and the United States, also reveal the process of intercultural adaptation. The film, through its documentary images, reflects on how cultural identity is constantly changing and adapting in the face of conflicts in the workplace, social class, and economic background in the context of globalization. This process is the same with Arjun Apadra's theory of cultural escapes, which emphasizes globalization is unification, same way of culture, but not a collision and interweaving of different cultures. At the same time, images as a tool of culture for shaping global cultural identity and record reality, participate in it. America Factory used documentary images to show the conflict and reconstruction of cultural identity, highlighting the key roles of media in shaping social perception and cultural identities. To wrap up, we return our key question: how do images construct culture and identity in a globalized world? Images don't just reflect reality. They help shape how we see ourselves and others through symbols and stories. They build framework for cultural identity. Fictional images like Black Panther imaging idealized identities, while documentaries like American Factory reveal real cultural clash and adaptations. In a complex global landscape, images act as a bridge, connecting, challenging, and translating between cultures. When they balance authenticity with creativity, images become powerful tools for understanding and expressing who we are. So this is our presentation. Thank you for your watching.